too. No, thank you.
And you guys realize there's all kinds of different ways that you might have vectors presented to you. This is a typical way that vectors in physics. Okay, so we have two forces, one 20-pound, one 16-pound. They're both pulling on the same object, but one is pulling down in this direction, the other is pulling up in that direction. And we want to find the resultant force, which means we want to find the magnitude of the resultant force and the angle that the resultant makes, okay? So geometrically, it means it wants me to pick this vector up, put it at the end of that vector, and then the resultant is the vector that goes from the origin to that final terminal point after you stack the one at the end of the other. Okay, so we're trying to find the red vector is what we're trying to find. We've learned how to add vectors when we have them in either IJK form or in component form. I have it in physics picture form right now. We could work off the physics pictures and work off right triangle trig, but it's all the same in the end because you have to get the same vector. So the most direct thing for me to tell you is that we want to turn this information into component or IJK form. We want to turn this information into component or IJK form. Well, actually, I'm saying K, but we're in R2, so our K is 0. You know, we have 0 K. The X is the length of this side of the right triangle. So cosine of 30 degrees would equal that length over 16. 16 is the length of my vector, so it's the hypotenuse. X is the length of this adjacent side. So cosine of 30 is adjacent over hypotenuse, hence 16 times cosine of 30 is X. So 16 cosine of 30 degrees is X. My Y is the opposite side of the triangle, but notice I'm down in quadrant 4, so what's true about the SIGN of Y? If I'm in quadrant 4, what's the sign of Y? And I'm not saying SINE, I'm saying SIGN. It's negative, okay? So it'll be negative 16 sine of 30 degrees. Okay, following the same right triangle trig logic, sine of 30 is y over 16, so 16 sine of 30 is y, but I'm down in quadrant 4, so it has to be negative. So then do the same thing up here. The x is 20 times cosine of 45. The y is 20 times sine of 45. And k is 0, so I'm ignoring it. We're in 2 dimensions right now. So my resultant, the resultant will be 20 times cosine of 45 added to 16 cosine of 30, 20 sine of 45 added to negative 16 sine of 30. And then we just want to clean that up. So cosine of 45 is 1 to the square root of 2. Cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2. I guess you could also write square root of 2. exact answer. If you wanna turn it into a decimal, you can, but I don't know, right now, why don't we go ahead and